Because a lot of people kept saying that's his preference. Who cares? That's his preference. But can a preference be based in colorism?
Sometimes.
Always?
Not always, no. Sometimes. That means sometimes.
Sorry, but I was talking to her.
Noah's only into white girls.
Now, you done pissed me off.
If it wasn't for Tony,
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning back in. I'm back with another Proud Family video. And this is going to be a video wrapping everything all in one. And it's basically on a topic that I've gotten so many comments about, so many comments on. And I wanted to talk about it with y'all. When I did that whole colorism video with the Proud Family episode, and I did a lot of follow-up videos. I did the Zoe video. I did that video about the boyfriends that Penny and Dejanay ignored for the lighter-skinned celebrity, Noah. Penny and Dejanay already had boyfriends, but Noah was so infatuated to them. Noah was so attractive to them that his attractiveness overruled the fact that they already had darker-skinned boyfriends. At least 30% of the comments, I still get comments about this today. And this is from videos I did months ago. Some of these comments still say, that's his preference. Who cares? That's his preference. I don't care. That's his preference. You can't make somebody like somebody they don't like. You can't force somebody out of their preference. That's his preference. That's a common comment I've seen on this channel when it comes to those videos. But I realized I've talked about the whole episode. I talked about what colorism is, and in relation to this episode, how poorly written this episode was. Most of us should know that already. But I've never really dove deep into the whole colorism preference discussion. And this is what this video is going to be about. Y'all know I take these topics from the Proud Family show and I dig deep into them relating to the real world, because these are real world issues. And I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, I mean, it's not that serious. Who cares? It's his preference, like those comments said. But think about it in a bigger picture. Think below the surface. Think of it like a food for thought. Because the bottom line, you can't force somebody out of a preference, right? People want to be attracted to who they're attracted to. Whether it's a certain race, whether it's a certain skin tone, whether it's a certain aesthetic. But me playing devil's advocate, because you know a lot of people like to play devil's advocate in the comments. Now, this is a devil's advocate type of video where it's like, can that preference be based in colorism? Or some type of racism? I've seen people talk about this too. I got a 5% comments like that. Like, oh, okay, y'all saying it's a preference, but where does that preference come from?
Wow, that's a great question.
Is it the way they were raised? Is it environmental factors? The way they saw their parents act? How they were treated in school? It's a whole different combination. Everybody has their own story. Everybody grew up differently. You know, when we're younger, when you're little kids, you just see, oh, that's my friend. But as you get older, you know, that grade school, middle school, high school, everything starts coming into play. Especially nowadays, in social media, you get to see how people think. It's a lot. Before we go any further, I'm going to show a certain clip. And I know some of y'all seen this. You're going to be like, Tony, how many times you going to show this? One more time. He approaches the table with Penny and her friends, and they all take turns jumping in his face, trying to get his attention. Just look at the face of disbelief when Dejanay approaches him. He rejects all of them.
Sorry, but I was talking to her.
And goes straight to Zoe to ask her to the dance, which even she has a hard time believing. The rest all look in shock, as they had assumed Noah would be attracted to them the most. And with that clip, you have to look at the context of the situation. Noah was a celebrity. All the girls were screaming for him. He came to the table where Penny, Zoe, Dejanay, Lacianica, they all were. But the difference is they were all jumping in his face. Penny, Dejanay, Lacianica, you know, even Michael, they all jumped in his face. They were thirsty for his attention. Like, okay, you're gonna like me, right? You know, I'm black. You're gonna like me, right? So that was them assuming on their part that just because Noah was black, although he was lighter skinned, and that they were like the attractive black girls of their friend group, Lacianica, Latina, but a lot of people associate them together. He was gonna go for them, like, all right, here I am, you wanna date me? Take me to the dance. Even though they had the boyfriends right there. They felt a huge rejection when he picked Zoe instead. Some people may have experienced this. You might see it in TV shows, like the Proud Family or movies, but rejection cuts even deeper when it's from somebody you actually attracted to. When you think you got a chance with somebody and they shoot you down, they overlook you, you realize that they don't see you in that same type of light, that cuts even deeper. And this is the plot. This is kind of like the arc, the angle they tried to take with this episode from the perspective of Penny being the protagonist, and then, you know, Dejanay and even La Cienega. And what cut even deeper, you know, something can cut, but something can cut even deeper to like a nerve, is when he chose Zoe, who was way off their radar.
You're all just jealous that Noah asked me out.
Zoe wasn't supposed to be competition to them because they thought, oh, this black guy, he's gonna like us. It's that context of the situation where it's like, oh, you don't like us black girls, or you don't like this Latina girl because you like white girls instead. But then in the comments, like I said, people were saying, who cares? That's his preference. You can't argue with somebody's preference. You can't force somebody against their preference. But talk about it in the real world. Where does a preference for a specific race come from? And I notice there's more backlash when it's an interracial preference. Like, oh, when a black guy only has a preference for white girls. It's like, what? How dare you? How could you? I see this all the time.
You talking about class? You got a lot of nerve.
Where it's like, oh, your mother is black, your sister is black, or what about all the black women in your family? You don't like them? I see that all the time. Not to say that it's like, oh, you should be attracted to your family, but it's like, you're black yourself and you don't like your own race. You don't want to date a woman or a guy from your own race. Why?
Could somebody please make it make sense?
Maybe it's just me, but I see it's a lot of black people that have this same discussion about race and interracial dating. And then, you know, a lot of white people, it's just, it is what it is. You don't see white guys saying, oh, I only date black girls. That's not a common thing I see, but you'll see a lot of black guys on Twitter making like videos, doing this, doing that. Or you may have experienced it when you was in high school where they say, oh, I want a snow bunny. Oh, I want a male queen. I've heard that. I've seen that.
Oh my God.
And when they can't get a white girl to like them, they can't get a white girlfriend, they go for the next best thing, which is a lighter skinned black girl. Or bump that, a Latina girl, a lighter skinned Latina girl. That's why you had Penny, the light skinned black girl. You had La Cienega, the light skinned Latina. Then you had Dejanay, the dark skinned black girl. He didn't want none of them. He just wanted the white girl. So this is where I feel like the writers were coming in like, all right, we're going to have him reject all of them for Zoe. And then to top it off, Zoe wasn't supposed to be competition. She was supposed to be the nerdy white girl. So it's like, wow. So her whiteness out-canceled her nerdiness? That's how much you are attracted to white girls? That was supposed to be why Penny, Dejanay, and La Cienega were so mad at Zoe.
Well, the boy only dates white girls.
Another thing to remember in speaking with this episode's context is that black people are not a monolith. Black men and black women, white people are not a monolith. There's someone out there for everybody. People from the same demographic may think the same, but that doesn't mean everybody from that demographic thinks that way. Some of y'all can correct me if y'all think I'm wrong or if you see things differently. Like I said, this is a food for thought. So I know a lot of y'all like to be like, oh, what are you talking about? This is a food for thought. Everybody has their own experiences. Everybody has their own thought process when it comes to this. But I've noticed that sometimes a lot of races like to stick together. Like you'll see Asian couples, black couples, white couples. A lot of people like to date people within their own race. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people like to date outside their race. That's where the arguments and the discussions and the backlash comes from. But I noticed, maybe it's just from what I've seen on social media, what I've gathered, there's major backlash. There seems to be the most backlash when a black guy or a black woman wants to date outside the race. Not even just with a white guy or a white woman. It's like, oh, they want to date an Asian person. Then it's like, A lot of people are like, oh, that's a mismatch. What do you see in him? What do you see in her? That's where that whole discussion comes in. And like I said, I feel like the writers heavily took inspiration from Twitter And these are discussions that I was seeing a lot. Funny thing is, I know half the writers have Twitter accounts because I saw their accounts. I saw them tweeting when I was following up with the show. I was looking up like the art designers, the color designers, the directors, the producers, the writers, and I was like, okay, trying to keep updated with the show. I know they had Twitter accounts, active Twitter accounts. Knowing everything that was trending, knowing the discussions that were being had, it was so obvious that they took these discussions, they took these perspectives, and they twisted it into this episode, because this episode could have went so much better if it wasn't influenced by groupthink on social media. You're going to be attracted to who you're going to be attracted to. Like, whatever got you to that point to where you're like, I only like this type of girl, only like this type of guy, it is what it is. But for me, the problem comes in where you're making fun of other races, or you're putting down other races or other skin tones for the one that you're attracted to. White girls is where it's at. I don't like no darkies.
Hold up, wait. Oh my God, hold up.
That's a problem. And it's the fact that they never had Noah say anything disrespectful about black girls or Latina girls, which made this episode even harder to follow. And this is a worldwide issue in Asia, in Europe, in America. But I want to bring up a specific person, because I remember when she first came out, it was this whole big discussion about, wow, she's so beautiful, but she's so dark. She must be tanning. People couldn't believe that this person was so beautiful, because a lot of people didn't associate dark skin with beauty. And I'm talking about Amara La Negra. If some of y'all know, she's a singer and she's a reality TV star. She's from Love and Hip Hop Miami on VH1. You know, the Love and Hip Hop series. She's from that show. When she first came out, she's been out, but Love and Hip Hop made her popular. A lot of people was like, wow, she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. Oh, she must be tanning. Oh, that afro must be a wig. And she had a lot to say about colorism, what she faced being a darker skinned Latina, an Afro-Latina, as it's called. And she even said something interesting about when she was younger, she felt like a bug in a cup of milk.
It was like the bug in the middle of a cup of milk. Like, you can always just point it out. So it was very uncomfortable.
Watching her interviews, you'll see that people used to tell her all the time she was beautiful, but then she'll get those comments like, oh, you'll be prettier if you was lighter. Oh, you'll be prettier without that afro on your head. And it's like, when she tried to make it big in the industry, she got a lot of pushback, because it's like, you're pretty, but you got to do something with your look. That was a major thing with her storyline on the show she was on. So you see, that's another thing where somebody could be attracted to somebody for their features, but the skin tone is what throws them off. Like, yeah, she's cute, but she's too dark for me.
The lowest is what? 0.
And again, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's his preference. But I'm like, that's where the disconnect comes with me. So you can have a preference, but saying, oh, somebody is too dark, it's like,
You just don't get it. I'm out.
To me, I find that problematic, because why is dark skin so unattractive to you? Not saying that you have to be attracted to darker skin tones, but where does the unattraction for it come from?
Wow, that's a great question.
Not to mention, colorism is mostly within the same racial groups. You know, black people, light-skinned person, dark-skinned person. Asian cultures, you know, a lighter-skinned Chinese person, then like a tanner, darker-skinned Chinese person. Where you even have like the K-pop phenomenon, where it's like, the lighter they are, the better, the more fans they have. Where you have like a pop idol, a K-pop idol that might be a little tanner, they're considered not as attractive. That's a real thing, I'm telling y'all. So in a nutshell, that was just my breakdown of it. That was just my little deep dive into it, right? Like, we talked about the episode, but talking about it in the real world, it's like, okay, you can have a preference, but can that preference also have basis of colorism in it? Can you have colorism mixed in with that preference? Be attracted to who you want to be attracted to, date who you want to date. Who's going to tell you who you like? Who's going to tell you what kind of people, what kind of aesthetic, what kind of person you like, right? But think about, where does that attraction to a certain look come from? Where does the non-attraction to other looks come from? At the end of the day, it's your life. Don't let outside factors control who you think you should like, who you think you should be attracted to. But at the same time, just don't put down other people, other races, other skin tones because you have a preference for one or some. That's all I got to say about this. What do y'all think? What is y'all take on the whole preference versus colorism discussion when it comes to this Proud Family episode? I already know what some of y'all going to say, but just in general, in real life, have you faced this? Have you experienced this? What do you think about people dating outside their race? What do you think about interracial couples, interracial marriages, and the backlash that a black guy may have for dating a white woman, or black woman have for dating an Asian guy? Like, what do you think about that? Some people are so flabbergasted, like, oh, you're black and you didn't date another black person? You're a coon. That's another thing I've seen real quick. Black people that date outside their race, they're often called coons. What is y'all take on that? As of lately, season 3 of the Proud Family reboot should be coming out pretty soon. It should be some news about that. What are y'all hoping they dive deep into next season? Please leave your thoughts down below. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching and listening. I'll see y'all in the next video.